In the heart of an ancient forest, hidden from the eyes of most travelers, there lay a village cloaked in whispers and shadows. The villagers were bound by an unspoken rule: never venture beyond the tree line after sunset. They lived in fear of the Watcher, a figure said to guard the forest's secrets with unrelenting vigilance. The story begins with a young man named Elias, a carpenter by trade, but a dreamer by nature. He had always been fascinated by the tales surrounding the forest. Unlike the others, he did not fear the Watcher. He questioned its existence. To Elias, the stories were mere fabrications to keep curious souls like him from exploring. One fateful evening, Elias' curiosity got the better of him. As the village prepared for another night, shutters closing and lamps dimming, he slipped into the forest. He carried only a small lantern and a pouch of bread, his heart pounding with both fear and excitement. Hours passed as Elias wandered deeper into the woods. The towering trees seemed to lean in closer, their branches forming an almost impenetrable canopy. Then, beneath the roots of an ancient oak, he stumbled upon something unexpected: a small, intricately carved box. Its surface was adorned with symbols that seemed to shimmer faintly in the lantern's glow. Compelled by a force he couldn't explain, Elias opened the box. Inside lay a pendant, a silver medallion with a black stone at its center. The moment he touched it, the air around him grew colder, and an eerie silence enveloped the forest. He pocketed the pendant, feeling both exhilarated and uneasy, and hurried back to the village. That night, Elias was plagued by strange dreams. He saw himself standing on the edge of a vast chasm, the pendant glowing in his hand. Across the chasm stood a figure cloaked in shadow, its eyes glowing like embers. A voice echoed in his mind: "You have awakened the bond. The choice is now yours." The next morning, Elias woke to find the village abuzz with rumors. Strange occurrences had begun overnight: livestock missing, crops withering, and an unsettling fog creeping through the streets. The villagers whispered of the Watcher's wrath, though none dared to investigate. Elias, however, felt a deep connection to these events and knew the pendant was the key. Determined to uncover the truth, Elias sought out Morella, the village's reclusive healer and the only person rumored to have knowledge of the forest's mysteries. She lived on the outskirts, her small hut surrounded by herbs and charms. When Elias showed her the pendant, her face grew pale. "You should never have touched this," she said, her voice trembling. "This is no ordinary trinket. It binds its bearer to the Watcher, not as its enemy, but as its counterpart. You've disrupted the balance, Elias. The forest will not forgive you easily." Elias' mind reeled. Morella explained that the Watcher was not merely a guardian, but a gatekeeper of worlds. The pendant was one half of a pair, created to seal a rift between realms. By taking it, Elias had weakened the boundary, allowing fragments of the other world to seep through. "What must I do?" Elias asked, desperation creeping into his voice. "Return it to the Watcher. Only then can the balance be restored. But beware, the journey will test every part of your spirit. Few have ventured to the heart of the forest in return." Armed with Morella's warnings, Elias ventured back into the forest. This time the air felt heavier, and the shadows seemed alive. The pendant grew warm against his chest, as though guiding him deeper into the woods. Days blurred into nights as he pressed on, encountering challenges that tested his resolve. He faced illusions of his deepest fears: the death of his family, the betrayal of friends, the loss of his identity. Each trial left him drained, but more determined. Finally, he reached a clearing where the trees stood in a perfect circle. In its center was an ancient stone altar, and standing before it was the figure from his dreams. The Watcher was both terrifying and mesmerizing, its form shifting between human and beast, shadow and light. "You've come far," it said, its voice resonating like thunder. "Do you wish to undo what you have wrought?" Elias held out the pendant. "I didn't know what I was doing. I only wished to set things right." The Watcher's eyes glowed brighter. "Setting things right comes at a cost. Are you prepared to sacrifice what you hold most dear?" Elias hesitated, but then he thought of the village, the people he cared for, and the life he had known. "Yes," he said, his voice steady. The Watcher extended its hand, and the pendant floated toward it. The moment it touched the Watcher's palm, the ground beneath Elias shook, and a blinding light engulfed the clearing. When the light faded, Elias found himself back at the edge of the forest. The pendant was gone, and the oppressive fog that had plagued the village had lifted. Elias returned home, but something was different. The villagers greeted him warmly, but none seemed to recognize him. His own reflection in the mirror was unfamiliar. His face bore the lines of a man who had lived many years. He realized that the cost of restoring the balance had been his place in the world he once knew. Though saddened, Elias accepted his fate. He found solace in knowing the village was safe and the forest balance restored. He continued to live quietly on the outskirts, carving intricate designs into wood and telling tales of the Watcher to those who cared to listen, though few believed him. In the heart of the forest, the Watcher stood vigilant once more, its eyes glowing softly as it guarded the fragile boundary between worlds. And in the deepest shadows of the trees, the whispers of the villagers lingered, warning future generations of the dangers of curiosity and the weight of choices made in the dark.